I'm here to chew bubblegum and make your website less shit, but I've run out of bubblegum. The mistake most people make is that they think they need a website, but all the website is a place to drive a marketing activity to make people convert into a sale, a lead, or raise their hand and generate interest, basically. I kind of think we're in the era now that it's very difficult to prove credibility through a lot of the traditional ways. A lot of people who want to make video will never make a good video because they're boring. And I think if you don't have a personality, just don't bother, basically. I think in schools, it's the skill that they should be teaching every kid, how to be good on camera, because ultimately that's just the way the world has gone. And that's the way the world will continue to go. And some people will talk in riddles for days about not what they do, but not even an elevator pitch. It's like a cruise ship pitch. It's seven days long, basically, this pitch. And you still don't know what they do.
If you had 1 minute to advise me, what do I need to do to get the right leads in? What would you tell me?
God. Right, so you need to know.
Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to the Solo Source podcast. My name is Joeri, and on the show, I have honest conversations with people who decided one day to work for themselves. The solopreneurs, the independent professionals, and the self-employeds out there. We share real stories from the front lines, some deep and meaningful lessons, and maybe even some practical tips that you could take forward on your own solo journey. Hey, on today's episode, I am joined by Craig Burgess, who runs Genius Division. Craig is here to chew bubblegum and make your website less shit. And guess what? He's all out of gum. We talk about why most websites fail, why some people probably shouldn't create video content at all, and why attention alone doesn't build a business unless you know what to do with it. I'll be back with some of my thoughts and maybe even questions at the end. But for now, enjoy my conversation with Craig Burgess. You have a great tagline on your LinkedIn page. What is it? Under your name, what does it say?
Well, I'm here to chew bubblegum and make your website less shit, but I've run out of bubblegum.
So yeah. I thought that was from a movie, which it is in a movie, but somebody said today it's from a game. Is that Duke Nukem? Is that what it's from?
Yeah, Duke Nukem 3D. Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't sure.
It says at the beginning, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of gum. So just always stuck with me because, I mean, Duke Nukem is the best video game character, potentially the best character ever, and it's just always stuck with me. And it kind of perfectly sums up the kind of thing. I mean, the content thing is the same. I've been making content for years and years and years, nearly the same length of time as Genius Division. And it was only a few years ago when I finally went, right, f*** it. I'm sick of everybody. I'm sick of all the stupid idiots out there. I'm sick of the stupid advice. I'm sick of all these wankers. I'm just going to say it as it is. And that's basically where the tagline came from. Really what I want to put on LinkedIn is I'm sick of all you wankers. This is how it is. That would be the better one. But there's an element of professionalism that you have to keep slightly, just a little bit. And that's why it's that more than anything else.
And thank you for giving me the opener to this podcast. For people who don't know you, what's been your journey kind of up here? You talked a bit about what you've been doing the last few years. Where did this all come from?
So the only real career I have ever known, despite wanting to be a police officer, is being a graphic designer. So I got my first job as a graphic designer when I was 18. I wanted to be a police officer for 18 years. And then in the UK, you can't be a police officer until you're 18 and a half years old. So I had to waste 6 months, basically. So I went on kind of a uni course, like a local uni course. I didn't go to university. They call it a HND in the UK. And it was a graphic design one. And I loved it. Loved graphic design. It opened up a whole new world to me. I'm from a working class family in a small town in England. Graphic design wasn't a thing for me. I didn't know it existed. So my eyes got opened up to this whole world of creativity and interesting things. And that was it.
Oh, quick one. If you are enjoying these episodes, I put lots of time and energy into this. I'm doing this all by myself. I'm a little one-man army on these podcasts. Well, then with my guests, of course. I would really like it if you left a like, you left a comment, or you shared this with somebody who really could use it right now. All right, let's get back into the episode.
And then I was like, right, I'm going to be a graphic designer. So I got my first job after, training for a couple of months, got my first job. And then from there, I was like, right, I want to run my own agency. I've only been doing it for a few months. I want to run my own agency. So I knew that I needed more experience. I worked at a few other agencies. I was also into building websites. So I also designed and built websites, but also did logos and branding and all that kind of thing. And then within a couple of years, I was 21 and we launched Genius Division. So me and my partner, James, there was two of us at the time, business partners. We launched Genius Division in his bedroom where we worked for 2 years or something. So yeah, that was 15, 16 years ago now. That was 2020 when we launched it. 2019, not 2020. I said, as once we run out of money, we'll quit and we'll go get jobs. And we're now in 2026 and we haven't run out of money yet. And we're still running Genius Division.
You said didn't run out of money. You didn't run out of bubblegum websites. If I said something like, most businesses don't need more marketing, they need a better website. Do you agree with that or not? And why?
They're two different things. So the website is ultimately the place where the marketing drives everybody to. So a business both needs a website and marketing. The mistake that a lot of businesses make or single solopreneurs make is, by the way, I hate that phrase. I can't believe I just said solopreneur, but independence, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
Sure.
Anyway.
Sure.
The mistake most people make is that they think they need a website, but all the website is a place to drive a marketing activity to make people convert into a sale, a lead, or raise their hand and generate interest, basically. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make because they don't understand websites. They don't have any desire to understand websites. And I get it. They're boring. They're complicated. They're full of stress. Writing content for websites is an art in all of itself. Making photos, deciding what words you want to put on there, what content is. It's all a dark art. So
yeah, but why is it a dark art though? Because I think nowadays you could pretty easily, I can go on your website and let's say I really like Genius Division's website or Craig's website. With a bit of AI, I can just copy whatever you have, change a couple of words. How is it still a dark art though? There's a lot of examples, templates out there.
Because a lot of people, especially when it comes to marketing, either A, don't make the time to understand it, even if they can just punch it into AI. B, even though they've punched it into AI, still don't understand why they're doing it. That's kind of the issue. Or C, don't care. And I think C, don't care is the thing that most people are at. They think, I'm making money now. I don't need to market my business. That's the way it'll always be. And that's the attitude most people have, unfortunately.
I've been there where I've been so busy and all the work that came to me was warm leads anyway. So the website was an afterthought, never put time and energy into it. If somebody were to start now, whatever the business is, dog grooming, coaching, whatever it is, should they have a website? You probably say yes. Or should it just be a landing page? Could you do a LinkedIn page? Where would you start if you started afresh selling a service?
You need a place to drive people to. That's the thing. A website makes it big and scary, I think. So saying landing page makes it sound less of an effort, I think. Potentially even a LinkedIn page, whatever it is, but you need a URL to drive people to. That's ultimately it.
Just for listeners, what's the difference between a website and a landing page?
In technical terms, in my eyes, nothing really. I think a website people just assume is multiple pages, and a landing page is usually a one-page site. Generally, that's how we assume it. Or the landing page term is used in my world when we're talking about creating a specific campaign, and we'll make a specific landing page. So the term is you land on that page and then convert them from that page. That's where the term comes from generally. Some people call them squeeze pages. There's lots of other terms. So you just need a place to drive people to, I think. And the best thing to think about if you have no knowledge about websites whatsoever is creating one good web page. And I think anybody can do that really, because the core of it is, what do you do? Who do you do it for? How much it costs? I'll always be that drum regardless. And any other things you can put on there, but really they're the things that we want, and one clear call to action of what to do next. So it might be book a call, or it might be request prices, even though you should be putting some form of prices on there. There's other tactics too, putting process on there, putting services on there, obviously, but the basics of the site is to just tell people who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and the next clear call to action. And that's it. But a lot of people don't want to do it.
I do want to go back to the pricing bit though, because you've been hammering about that for a while, which I never had either, because I think a lot of people like me will be, well, the pricing depends. Right? It's not like I'm selling a book at $39.99. I think that's the pushback people get. So give me some tactics on pricing. Do I say starts as of this? Do I give an indication? Do I give 3 examples? Tell me a bit more about how I should indicate pricing on my website.
Yeah, so first of all, you need to decide what you're selling. A lot of people don't even know what they sell. So if you were selling a service, I'll come back to that in a second, but if you're selling a product, something that's got a very specific price or a monthly fee or something, put it on your website, because it's the immediate thing. This is how much it costs. They don't need to get in touch with you to find it out. It doesn't waste anybody's time. Then we get to the pushback, like you said. So if we offer a service like we do and like you do, the pricing is dependent on what they need. And it's sometimes the outside perspective would be that you're putting your finger in your mouth and raising your finger and going, it might be this. You look at the shirt and the shoes and the tie and the car and decide how much it costs. So when we're in that situation where the pricing isn't the same every time and it's a service-based business, you can still say prices. Then there's many different tactics to do this. The one that we have on our website is that it just says regular websites, well, it says websites, but websites start from 5,000. If I remember off the top of my head, I can't remember specifically. E-commerce sites start from 8,000 and branding starts from a certain price. So on our website, it says starts from, and it's on the start a project page. So when you're in the mind space to book a meeting with me, you see starting from prices. The other way to do it is you can say, typical project from me usually costs between, £8,000 to £15,000, whatever it actually is. It might be £200 to £800, whatever. Give people examples of the range of services you usually offer. The final one is you may want to actually put how much the last project cost or something similar to that, or ballpark figures, whatever. The point I'm getting at with it is the reason you're putting the costs on there, the pricing, or at least a range of pricing, is to get people to figure out where in the market you are. Are you cheap? Are you mid-market? Are you a luxury product? People need to understand that in their head before they're getting in touch with you. And even if you have a good design or a bad design or nice words or whatever, that communicates where you are in the market. But the thing that ultimately communicates it is how much something costs. And ultimately, regardless of what any person says, even if they say, I have no budget, I just want a ballpark figure, people have an idea in their mind. Even if they don't know the number, as soon as they see the number, they know whether it's too cheap or too expensive or just right, and they'll continue the conversation. So the reason I encourage it is to just get to that conversation quicker. It's all well and good having a 30-minute meeting with somebody, but even that is a waste of time if they just don't have the budget for you, or they're just not willing to spend that money right now. Price is a story. That's what Seth Godin said. I think it's one of the best phrases about pricing, because often there's lots of things bundled in prices, isn't there? It isn't just the price of the product. And I think when we're running our own businesses, it often feels a bit like it is just the price of the product. It's how much I self-consciously feel that I am worth. That's ultimately the story that is being told. But it's also a marketing tool, and that's really what Seth Godin's getting at. Price is a story, right? So the price, that's why I like to get it out there as early as possible, because it is the story, part of the marketing story that we're telling people. If a website from me costs £8,000, that tells a certain story. It isn't a 50 quid WordPress theme, but it also isn't ridiculously expensive in the market of custom websites. It sits somewhere in the middle. So that's why I like to encourage people to get the price in there. And I do often think when people say what you said earlier, but my pricing is always different, when people are saying that, it's really a reflection on themselves. They're just not confident in putting the pricing out there. That's usually what it is.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of. I've learned a lot from Chris Do, and I've learned a lot from Blair Enns, who's got a book called Win Without Pitching. They talk a lot about pricing. And 10 years ago, I would have been very uncomfortable talking about pricing. I'm very comfortable talking about pricing now, but I'd never thought to put it on my website. So during the first conversation, within minutes, I'll go, thanks for the chat, Craig. What you're looking for sounds a bit like this, and give you an example. We typically work between A and B. And I just shut up, right? And then because you'll see how people react. But I think having it on your website, I think will do that even better. It's also safe, right? Because people can just go on your website. They don't have to talk to you. They have to feel like they have to say yes. You're kind of helping them as well, making a buying decision.
Absolutely. That's what it's about. What a lot of people think, that there's two attitudes when we come to marketing in general as a practice of saying something or doing something online to get something to happen, to a sale or a lead or whatever. There's two general schools of thought with that. We obviously want leads. So some people want lots of leads. They want lots of leads and they just want them. So they want a high turnover of leads. If we want lots of leads, we will inevitably get low quality leads. Now, if we're a small business, we don't have the time to filter through lots of leads. So we want less leads, but a higher quality of lead. And that's ultimately the situation that you or I are in, really. And that's why I put the pricing on the website, because I want less leads. I don't want people getting in touch with me if they can't afford me. And I don't want people getting in touch if they perceive the price to be too expensive. So I put the price on there as early as possible to just filter those people out. It saves everybody's time, but more importantly, it saves my time because I want the fewest amount of leads, but the highest quality. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's a really good mindset to have, whether you're selling a service or even products as well. I think you could do the same thing. Get through it earlier. It's also respectful to your audience, I think. So it helps you. Sure, you can quickly go, we are more this, you're looking for that. Absolutely fine, but that's not us. Or it is. You just get better leads coming through. So that's pricing. Design-wise, because, I've got my colors, we've got a couple of images. How much design am I putting in? Am I taking a cheap template somewhere? Or am I going from the start? What do you suggest?
I haven't figured out a pithy way to say this yet, but the pithiest way I could say is the design doesn't matter one bit. It's probably the pithiest way I say it. I haven't found the way to say it on YouTube for people to listen to me. Bearing in mind I'm a website designer and I'm a graphic designer and I think design has value, the design of your website doesn't matter. So the basics matter. So picking good fonts, making sure they look professional, and by that I mean clean, simple. You can just look at Swedish design or IKEA's website or wherever, Apple's website, you can see what I mean from that. Generally, people have a good idea and a good eye for that. Picking colours that complement each other rather than contrast or clash. Generally, again, people have a good idea for that. All we're trying to do with the design, this is where websites differ. And this is what I was getting at when I made a YouTube video, which has had a lot of backlash when I said Webflow is ruining websites. What I was getting at is that people often see websites in two ways. They'll see a website as a beautiful art installation, an art exhibition. It needs to look pretty, or they'll see it as a sales machine. And ultimately, as a business, as a solo business in general, or a small business, we have to see it as a sales machine. That's the only reason it exists. We want to make leads from it or make actual cash money. That's why it's there. So how pretty it looks doesn't fucking matter two bits. And that's what annoys me. As I said, I haven't found a pithy way to say it yet. So on terms of design, it doesn't matter. In the basic, harshest level way to say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. You can get a template. You can look up one online. There's loads of resources out there. It just doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter. Just make it look clean and simple and make it so you don't have green text laid over red backgrounds. That's it. That's all that matters.
Unless it's the invite to the Christmas party.
Yeah, exactly. It still always feels weird for me to say that, especially say it publicly out online when I run a design agency and I'm providing design service. But design on websites is not the same as designing a poster. It's not the same as designing a logo or branding. What we're really doing with a website is interface design. It's closer to, I don't know, designing an ATM or designing a mobile phone interface. You're designing something that's going to be used every single day, hopefully, by somebody. So you're designing a tool rather than designing a pretty picture. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make. They get too caught up in the pretty picture, the art project. It isn't an art project. It's an interface.
I don't even know what Webflow is. What is it?
Webflow is a platform you can build. I mean, they don't need promoting on here. They sponsor every fucking podcast in the world, like Squarespace. Webflow is just an online platform that allows you to build websites. It's just a tool, basically. It's a hosted web platform. It's become very popular over the last couple of years because it makes you build beautiful websites a lot of the time. There's a very particular Webflow aesthetic. You'll have seen it. But it takes over your window. It takes over your scroll. So when you scroll down the page, it doesn't always work the way that I'm overgeneralizing here, the same way I did in the video. But that's generally the aesthetic. It's aesthetics first rather than content first, which I don't think is the attitude that any serious person should be going down when they're looking at websites.
Clear. Okay. What it needs to do is convert to business, money, mullah, clients calling, the right people calling.
Correct.
You said before you said even, not that long ago, you didn't really think about your website either because stuff was just coming in. You just got warm leads. Fantastic. Right now, what are you doing in terms of inbound and outbound? How are you getting people now?
I made a decision a couple of years ago to try marketing some may call marketing agency for the first time ever. And the only thing I chose to do was use video. And it's still the only thing I do now. I make, at the minute, the way I do the video is one YouTube video a week. I cut the snippets out of it and I put them on LinkedIn and I put some of them on YouTube. That's all I do. My only tactic for that is just to share good advice, much the same way I'm doing now. But basically get inside my head and pull the things out that are actually be useful for you rather than talking about web designing concepts or whatever. I try to help businesses. That's the point. And that's all I do. The only thing I try to do is, it was James Smith that said this. I can't remember which video, but he said, all your content should just create goodwill. That's it. And that's all I try to do with all my content. I want people to watch or listen to what I say and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Craig, for actually telling me that. Then if they're in the market for a website or they want advice, they know where to find me. The only way that my brain works is, and I think for small businesses, this is the best way to think as well, pick one thing and do that for as long as you can in terms of marketing activity. And then if it doesn't work, pick another thing. But don't try to do lots of things because you just don't have the time to do any of them well.
I think that is one of the core problems when people work for themselves. They look at business strategies, tactics that big business do with infinite budgets and massive teams, and they go, I need a website that costs $50,000. I need to get a sales team out. You don't have that. So you need to be very specific. And I think that's very sound advice. Do that one thing. What is your one thing now? What is the thing that's going for you now?
Still YouTube. So I'm still just doing one YouTube video per week. Now there's a tiny change to what I've done to that, which is helping me get more leads than I ever did with the way that I did it before. So about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I started making funny short videos on LinkedIn. I think they were pretty good. A lot of them were pretty funny. They got lots of likes, lots of comments. They led to a little bit of work, but it wasn't particularly reliable. I also started it at a time when the entire industry, pretty much all industries, were down. So it wasn't a good place to start, but I wasn't making the right contacts from it. What I changed was I decided to go to YouTube instead, which means that I had to change the style of content. So before I was making skits, funny videos, The Office style things. Now I make informational videos, so talking head type videos, much like what I'm talking about here. And ever since I did that, even though I would argue the content is more boring in every way, that has, because I put those on LinkedIn as well now, that has transferred to lots more leads. So whereas before I may get one a month, maybe one every couple of weeks, I'm getting a couple a week, I'm getting conversations going with people, which is a much better return rate than what I had before in just getting leads. So that was an unexpected finding for me. And in fact, I got caught down the ego trap a little bit that we were talking about with jiu-jitsu earlier. I had in my head that I didn't want to make boring content. I didn't want to make content like everybody else, which meant that my video ideas were crazy. They took ages to make. Some of them had drone shots in them. I made props for every one of them, wigs, etc. It was a lot of effort, but they didn't return the results that I wanted. What the actual market wanted to see, at least the business market, they just want me talking to camera and just saying, this is not the way you do it, this is the way you should do it. And ever since I did that, even though it's a lot easier, that's returned more leads, which is humbling to myself that I'm not actually as funny of a comedian as I thought I was.
Maybe because you don't think you're funny, that makes you funny. It's very meta.
I think there was a video I saw by Callaway. If you just look up Callaway on YouTube, I can't remember the exact video, but he was talking about the 5 games that people play online and the specific tactics that you need to play to figure out those games. The most pertinent games for us as business owners were, you either build a personal brand, so that is one end. You build a personal brand, which means you have to make funny videos like I did, lifestyle vlogs, those kind of things. You become known as a celebrity, let's say, quote unquote celebrity, a Gary V type approach. Or the other end of the scale is become an authority, or topic authority, basically. That was the bit I was missing. I wasn't talking enough about the knowledge that I have or showing the results that I have. I still struggle with that bit because I'm just rubbish at doing it. I find that boring. But that's the main tactic that I've shifted to. I'm more pushing my knowledge as an authority figure, not wanting to be a personal brand. I don't give a fuck if people know who I am online. All I care about is that they realize that I have knowledge and that I'm passing the knowledge on. Since I made that switch to just sharing knowledge and authority, it's been a much easier ride for me to make content, and then ergo leads. Good word, ergo.
First of all, that's awesome that that's working so well for you. The credibility thing, I'm going to take one little step back to website, and I'll stop about websites. But how much of credibility do you need to show on a website? Because I have a feeling some people might be listening saying, well, I've been a expert in this area for 20 years. I need to show it on my website by showing lots of testimonials and brands and logos. Is that still a thing? Does it get in the way? How does it help, or how does it hinder?
I kind of think we're in the era now that it's very difficult to prove credibility through a lot of the traditional ways. So the traditional game would be to say that we want to build trust and authority with Google, and the way to do that is to show our Google reviews on our website, show lots of testimonials, show FAQs, show case studies, show how long we've been in business, yada, 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 yada. All of those tactics are good, and I would recommend that people do them if they are there. The problem is that I just don't think they're convincing anymore because everybody's doing them, because Google is ultimately moving away from ranking websites in a way that they used to. I won't say SEO is dead, but it's very clear that Google are pushing people away from actually clicking on websites. So that advice is less important. The thing that I often encourage clients to do now to get out of the way of that is to make videos. Like I said, show your authority, make it undeniable that you have the authority to say what you do. Show, don't tell. So you don't need to say, we have 20 years in business, nobody gives a fuck. What they want to know is, do you know what you are saying you know by speaking it or showing it or whatever? And can you do the job for me, ultimately? They don't care how long you've been in business. It tracks the same way as, you know, if you go to a website and say you want to buy a new bed, you've moved house, you want to buy a new bed, this is the place I found myself in last week. I don't care how long the business has been in business. They could be 50 years old, they could be 1 year old, whatever. All I'm looking for is the bed that I want, and can they deliver it when the time that I need it, and is it the right bed, and has it got good reviews? That's it. I don't care about the other stuff. The one tactic that still can't be faked is using video, but talking on camera or getting video testimonials and things like that. It's still generally sound advice to do the other things, but you have to, and coming to the content thing again, you have to switch on your website from talking about yourself to talking to your customers. Nothing about you matters. Not anything. Not a single thing. Not even how long you've been in business. The only thing you should be doing is showing that you can solve your customer's problem, how you solve it, and how much it costs, and what to do. That's it.
Yeah, and whether you also understand that problem. I think relatability really helps.
Absolutely.
And if you can show that you've done it before, you go, look, I often say this too. So I've worked on like 100 innovation challenges, whatever that means, like creative challenges. And what I started doing after having done so many, I would just say, look, I don't know the ins and outs of your business, but the challenge you're trying to solve sounds a little bit like this. Is it okay if we have a look at this world and relate to your world? Doing two things. One, that I'm thinking through the problem, and two, that I can step out of that bubble that we're talking here, get inspiration from elsewhere, which is at the end of the day, that's what creativity is. You take something here, there, you put it together, as you know. And that does work brilliantly. But I hear you. So it's not about you. It's about your customer. Can you help them? Can you help them solve the problem and scratch the itch?
You just said it perfectly. I hear you. That's it. That's what the website wants to say. I hear you. I hear you. I have solved your problem before. If possible, hear the examples of me solving it before. Although controversially, I'd also argue lots of people don't look at case studies either, but they want to know that you can solve the problem, really, and you are the right person. And there's many tactics to do that, but the wider point is that I think people are blind to a lot of the tactics now that a lot of people have used in the past. Text-based testimonials. I still encourage clients to put them on there, but do people look at them, and do people
logo wall? Is that still a thing? Logo wall?
Depends. It depends on the industry, and it depends if they're genuine. That's the thing, because they've been so overused.
Yeah.
That I think by default, a lot of people think they're fake. And they somehow always seem to have the same logos on. BBC, Amazon, Google. So somehow everybody works for Amazon, BBC, and Google. I mean, you might have painted one of their doors or something, or delivered a parcel to them. But you can now put the YouTube logo or the Google logo on your website. Depends. If you can tie them to a project, I think they're good. If you can show what you did for them and what you did for them is significant, yes. But then also equally, if you want more clients like that, absolutely yes. But if you don't want to work with clients like that, it'll immediately put people off because they'll think, well, they've worked with Google. They're not interested in working with me, not little old me. Again, it depends, really.
I think it can help. I've definitely been guilty of slapping on a Nike logo because I facilitated a 2-hour team building for them in 2003. I've done that.
Yeah.
So it makes you look credible. But I think it's a great point you're making with who do you want to attract? Because I do think, like with pricing, it might help you. It might help you and help the potential searcher of whatever service that you have quickly distinguish whether you kind of are within their range or not. Whether you do similar work, like, oh, they work with other industries in tech or pharma or something, it might help you out a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. It's a weird line because some people want you to have worked with other people in the industry. Some people don't want you to be working with anybody else in the industry. And you don't often know that information until you get in touch with them. Some people have weird opinions on that kind of thing. So, again, it depends. I don't want to be too woolly about it, but it does depend on some things.
Yeah. When it comes to getting the attention of people and emulating their pain points, you go to great lengths with outfits, wigs, kits, and stuff. And even though you might not think you're that funny, I think you're incredibly funny. And I think your videos are very relatable to people. I think they're really... the printer, what was it again? The printer problem you've had.
Can I look at your printer?
Can I look at your printer? They are very relatable. And I think that really helps you sell. I have a bit of a hunch that when people like you should create a fun experience, you made them laugh, that builds a bit of a connection. And they go like, I like Craig. And then they're more likely to buy of you. That's basically where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. Can you see something in that? Or is that just a bit of a stretch?
I can see something in it. I think more than ever, I can't remember who said it now, but somebody has to see you for 7 hours or something in video format before they'd even consider purchasing with you. It's the same as the old ad thing of somebody has to see you 10 times before they get in touch with you. But now, because there's so much more content, the threshold is higher. And I do agree with you. If you can make somebody laugh or make somebody cry or make somebody feel an emotion, I think it does make a bit of a connection with somebody, or you can make somebody discover something that they never knew, or make them go, oh yeah, that's what that means. They connect you with learning that thing, and then you're infinitely connected with the thing. I think that the tactic works in lots of ways. Humor is definitely an easy way. I find the humor thing a little bit of a double-edged sword. It's good for breaking down barriers, and it is the way it is to some extent when you work with me and with Genius Division. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We do take our work very seriously. But what I've found is that it attracts two types of people. I don't necessarily always want to work with the people who just want to have a laugh, you know. As I said, I take my work very seriously, but I don't take myself very seriously. So I've had mixed experiences with it. It is what I'm trying to say. And I don't know how to solve that, to be honest. I want people to know that I'm a human being, and I think I do a pretty good job of showing that I'm a human and not some fucking droid, some marketing droid. But I don't necessarily want to show people that all I do is fuck around all day, which is why I switched maybe 5 or 6 months ago to making more serious videos and then peppering in sometimes a bit of humor. I think I had the balance wrong before. But you are right. Humor is a very easy way to connect with somebody. The problem with it is that whilst you may connect with them and they may like you, they may not be in the position to purchase from you. So then you become a celebrity, a personal brand, whatever that means. And as I said, I'm not interested in becoming a personal brand. What I'm interested in is driving leads to my business. So whether you like me or find me funny or whatever, it doesn't make any difference to me. What I want is, do you want a website? Oh yeah, Craig said that thing about me. said that thing about websites, I'll go to him, or at least remember that, rather than, oh yeah, I remember that guy who did a printer video. I think he did websites or something.
Yeah, there is a balance in there somewhere. But I do think humor is one way to cut through. Now, for maybe some people listening, they might think, well, I'm not a funny person. So what do I do then? If anybody comes to you and says, look, I also want to do that kind of video stuff, I want to break through YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm not very funny. What do I do? Where do I start?
I have a fairly controversial opinion about people who want to make video. And I think a lot of people who want to make video will never make a good video because they're boring. And I think if you don't have a personality, just don't bother, basically. I'm being a bit flippant, but the number one thing that matters is getting your personality across on camera. Not everybody's funny. Some people are serious, and that's okay. But the biggest disparity I see, when I used to do a podcast, I always saw it. So we'd do this kind of thing. We'd be asking questions, conversationally jabbing and jousting. And then when the podcast ends, there's like this, and then they become themselves. And I always thought, if you could just be that person that you're being right now after the podcast ended, you'd be good on camera. So that's the thing that people have to get to, which is the thing, again, consistency. That's the thing that people don't make enough video for, to become that person. So it isn't about being funny, it's about being yourself on camera, because what video ultimately does better than any medium is allow someone to go, that guy's a wanker, or I like that guy, and then click off. And no other medium provides that as well as video, I don't think. But it only works if you were capable of 100% being yourself. Authenticity, being yourself on camera, basically, which is hard for a lot of people.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. Personality. Not everybody is funny, but lean into what you have. I always have a recording on by the time they hop on, and I just start talking. Those are the best bits. And then I get like fun bits throughout the conversation because it shows a bit of self.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know the answer of how to get that personality out. I think in schools, it's the skill that they should be teaching every kid, how to be good on camera, because ultimately that's just the way the world has gone. And that's the way the world will continue to go. YouTube is the biggest streaming platform in the world, and it will only continue to, that gap will only continue to increase. And I just don't think if you just can't get good on camera, or you're not willing to, it's just going to be a fundamental business skill for a lot of people, especially if you're in a small business, to just be able to switch a camera on and go, here's what I think about this topic. Because I think that's the biggest place on YouTube and LinkedIn and mainly video platforms in general. That's the biggest advantage that small businesses have, that we can turn a camera on and go, this is what I think, but only if you truly say what you think. Most people don't. Small businesses are, well, to be honest, any business person has the opportunity to do with video is say, this is what I fucking believe in, and this is what I'm going to tell you right now. Doesn't matter whether you agree with me or not. I'm going to tell you what it is, and then you can agree with me or disagree with me afterwards. That's the power of video, and that's the bit that a lot of people are afraid to do on camera, because for some reason it's committed to memory or whatever, and they think it can't be unchanged. But video is a way to start a conversation, not end it. Do you know what I mean?
I completely agree. Look, I love face-to-face, but my clients sit all over the world. Video is the closest I can get to that. And I can help them save time. They can watch it in their own time. I try to be as engaging as possible by getting them to interact where I can. I'm a massive fan of video. Challenge for you. If you had 1 minute, I started a new business. I'm a business coach. I help small business. If you had 1 minute to advise me, what do I need to do to get the right leads in? If you had 1 minute to explain that to me, what would you tell me?
God. Right. So you need to know who you are, what you sell, how you're going to say it, who you're selling it to, how much it costs. They're the things you need to know straight away. Doesn't matter what else you do. Work them out. Then you can do the next bit. Now you know that, you need a simple website or somewhere that you can drive people to online. Could be a website, could be Wix, Squarespace. By the way, never use Wix. Could be any of those things. Once you've got that, a bit of content on that page, then you need to just pick a platform to start telling your message. So speaking online, preferably video format, could be a podcast as well, whatever. But you need to speak online. And then what I want you to do when you're speaking online is to speak confidently in what you know and don't veer off into other topics, and say it with conviction and with no caveats. So it's not this or this or this, it's this. This is what I believe. And every time you do it, you say that one thing in one video, And you do that for 12 months, once a week, and see what happens. That's the bit that most businesses don't do.
There you go. I think we can just cancel this entire podcast. That 1 minute was enough.
Yeah, it's easy to say, but...
No, but I think you hit the nail on the head, I think, particularly on the first bit. I think where I often meet people, and again, what I offer at the end is not a website. Where I meet people is that first thing. Like, who do you serve? What are you trying to do? What do you sell? If they're not clear on that, then the rest is a bit of a waste of time, a bit of a moot point. So you start there.
It is amazing how many websites I come across, and it'll be the same with you with other businesses.
Yep.
When you just go, so what do you do? And then they go, well, we do information.
Sustainable.
Yes, it's sustainable information solutions for the technology and fintech industry. I'm like, right, yeah, but what do you do? Yeah, well, we do AI-backed audits for, socially focused, conscious people. Yeah, but what do you do? And some people will talk in riddles for fucking days about not what they do, but not even an elevator pitch. It's like a cruise ship pitch. 7 days long, basically, this pitch. And you still don't know what they do. And eventually, oh yeah, you sell ads. Oh yeah, you're a marketing agency.
You walk dogs.
Yeah, whatever. It's amazing how many people are not capable of just saying, this is what I do. And this is how much it costs. I just think for a lot of people, it feels too basic to say, I walk dogs, or I make websites, or whatever. It feels too simple, even though that's what everybody understands, regardless of whether they're in the C-suite or they're mopping the floors in the basement. Everybody understands that language throughout the entire organization. Most people the other side of it is branding experts or marketing experts. They're paying someone $100K to come up with these fancy words, but they don't solve the simple problem of just saying, what do they do? And then before anybody realizes, I think it just spirals out of control. And then within 6 months or 12 months, they have a fancy website that doesn't say what they do. And then they have a billboard that doesn't say what it does. And then they have a podcast that doesn't say what they do. And then they have an email newsletter, and then they have a business, and then they have R&D departments that don't know what they're doing. And then what do you do? For small businesses, it's because of that thing that you said earlier. They're trying to play the games of the big people, even though the games that the big people playing are wrong. They look at a big company, a Coca-Cola or whatever, and they think the corporate structure is what they want to replicate. The one that really gets me is saying we when it's I. Why are you pretending to be a big company? Why are you pretending to be multiple people when it's just you? When that's the very reason that people want to work with you, because they know they're working directly with you, but you're saying we.
I used to do that. So for years I said we, now I'm the same. I'm like, I have no friends.
There's a disingenuousness to it, and you always get found out. It's the same as listing services that you don't do, or the same as offering products that you don't fulfill purely to look like a bigger organization. You get found out, and then it just sours the relationship. And ultimately business is all about relationships. And if you're lying to them from even before you've gone on the first date, it isn't going to end well, is it?
Are you ready for the lightning round, my friend?
Go on then.
The lightning round.
Are you ready, Craig?
Yes.
YouTube or LinkedIn?
YouTube.
One word to describe most agency websites.
Shit.
The worst thing somebody can put above the fold.
The worst thing. I'm stuck on that one. Too many words. Let's say that.
Copy first or design first?
Copy first.
One marketing trend you'd happily delete from the internet?
Animations.
If someone's website isn't converting, what is the first thing you would go and check?
If their contact forms are working. So if they're actually getting emails. Because it might be converting, but the contact forms weren't linked up. That's usually the problem.
Costumes in content. Genius or slightly unhinged?
It is slightly unhinged, but I think that's where the magic is in video. It needs to be slightly unhinged.
What is one brutally honest piece of advice for people about their website?
Put your prices on your website, and if you don't put your price on your website, it's because you were not confident in either your service or your pricing. So it isn't anything to do with the price. It's the fact that you don't value yourself internally.
What humbles you faster, BJJ or business?
That's a good question, isn't it? I think the feedback loop in business is generally longer, so it doesn't humble you as quickly. But jiu-jitsu is a faster feedback loop, so when you get on the mats, if you could be rolling with a big white belt or whatever, and you don't do as well as you think you are, that's humbling quicker than it is, in business. In business, you might be doing something for a few years and then you don't realize, and then all of a sudden you realize it's not working anymore. It's different, I think.
If you could go back to when you were 21 and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
Put your prices up.
Good enough. Where can people find you?
Well, the best place is geniusdivision.com, where you can sit and watch a video for quite some time. I'm on YouTube as well. It's just youtube.com/Craig Burgess. And then LinkedIn is where I tend to hang out a lot of the time. Hang out, what a terrible phrase.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated this. I could have gotten a lot deeper into and marketing and websites and content and stuff, but we'll leave that for another conversation at some point. I appreciate you, Craig. Thank you for sharing so bigly, as I call that.
Thank you.
Before I leave you my thoughts, I just want to say a huge thank you to Craig Burgess for being part of this podcast and being part of the conversation. Make sure you go connect with him. I'll leave the links in the notes below. And while you're there, you might as well sign up for the Solo Source newsletter, where I share ideas just like these for people just like you. So here are a couple of thoughts I want to leave you with. Is your website an afterthought? Something that you piece together, you kind of slapped a couple of images together on a domain name because people said that's what you need to have? Or is it part of your strategy, something that you've thought through and is really set up to take maybe articles, maybe posts, maybe some carousels on LinkedIn, maybe you create YouTube content? A website is a great place where all that content comes together, where the attention gets there, where you can then change it into business for your brand. With all that said, I think it's time that I've started looking at my websites, and based on this conversation, I think I'm going to make a couple of changes. So, got a bit of work to do. Love seeing you here. I'll see you next time. Make it a great day.